How's everybody doing? This is Pastor Dwayne once again. Thank you. I'm so happy you joined us today on the Power Encounter. Guys, I got something really quick I want to ask you. I just want to know this one question. Are you operating according to your fears, or are you operating by faith? How do you know whether you're walking by faith or walking by fears? Listen, in this life, sometimes it's so difficult to walk by faith. And faith simply means, trust. The Bible says that faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. But sometimes, I don't know about you, for me, it's hard to walk by faith. I can see everything around me, and it gets very, very difficult for me to trust God. But what I want to do today is encourage you to walk by faith, and I want you to take a little test. I want you to take a little test and ask yourself whether you're walking by faith or walking by fear. And we're going to do that by asking a couple of questions. And I have an acronym. I'm going to just parallel fears and faith. If you got a piece of paper, you can write it down, fears and faith. And I'm going to use the story in the Bible. In the Bible, when Moses was sending out the 12 spies to check out the promised land, the land that God promised for the children of Israel to go to. And he sent out these spies, and these spies came back with a report. And most of the spies, there were 12 of them, 10 of them came back with a bad report. They said, look, Moses, the land is good, but it's too much for us to handle. We can't do it. The people are too big. There's a lot of great stuff there, but we can't handle this. It's too much for us. But there were these two dudes, Joshua and Caleb, that operated in faith, and they knew, God, if God said it's ours, then we can go in and take it, no matter who's there, no matter what giants are in the land. So listen, I want to ask you this question. Are you operating by faith or operating on your fears? And there's two differences. Number one, faith. What faith does, faith focuses on opportunity, while fear focuses on the obstacles. Faith focuses on opportunity, and fear focuses on obstacles. Are you focused on opportunity? When you see a problem, do you see opportunity or do you see an obstacle? Listen, when you're faced with something that's bigger than you, that's an opportunity for God to show himself strong. That's what he does. His strength is made perfect in our weakness. Second thing, faith. What does faith do? Faith anticipates victory while fear expects defeat. Faith anticipates victory while fear expects defeat. Listen, when faced with a challenge, what faith does is say, look, I got this. No matter how big the giant is, I got this. It's like David when he was facing Goliath. It expected, listen, God is with me, and I'm going to defeat you. What you got to know, if you're going to walk by faith, you got to expect, you got to anticipate that you're a winner, because God already promised that you're more than a conqueror. Another thing, the third thing, faith. What faith will do when you walk by faith, it's going to isolate you in the minority. It's going to isolate you in the minority. But when you walk in your fears, guess what? You're going to be among the masses. Why do I say that? There were two dudes who said we can do this. Two guys were operating by faith, and 10 of them said, listen, we stay with the masses. 10 of them said we can't do it. And when those 10 said we couldn't do it, guess what? The whole crowd followed around and started complaining and grumbling. When you operate by faith, guys, I'm here to tell you, you're going to walk alone. There's not going to be a whole lot of people to go with you. Faith will isolate you in the minority. And then fourthly, faith. What faith does, faith trusts in God and obeys his word. Faith trusts in God and obeys his word. But what does fear do? Fear relies on self and rebels. Fear relies on self and rebels. Why? Because when you're fearful, you recognize that, look, this problem is something that I can't handle. It's relying on self. And when you rely on self, then you won't walk into the promise that God has for you. What faith does, it trusts God and obeys his word. What did they do? Listen, Joshua and Caleb trusted God and said, let's obey. Let's go take the land because God already promised it to us. Are you walking by faith or are you walking by fear? So faith focuses on opportunity. Faith anticipates victory. Faith isolates you in the minority. And then it trusts God and obeys his word. But finally, faith, what it does, it'll allow you to go home into the land of promise. Faith will cause you to go into the land of promise. It'll give you a home in that promised land of rest. But you know what fear will do? Fear will keep you stuck in the wilderness. Fear keeps you stuck out in the wilderness. Joshua and Caleb, listen, if the children of Israel had walked by faith, they could have rested in the promised land. But because they didn't listen to the two guys who were walking by faith, they listened to the other guys. They listened to the people who are operating in fear. They ended up going right back into that wilderness. My question to you is, are you walking by faith or are you walking in fear? I encourage you today, don't operate in your fear. Fear is simply false evidence appearing real. Walk by faith And when you walk by faith, God will take you into that promised land. Listen, thank you for joining us today on the Power Encounter. This is Pastor Dwayne. I'm so glad that you could be with us today, man. Our whole purpose is that you would encounter God's presence, reach your destiny, and leave a legacy. God bless you.